And number two, this level of controversy and discord plays directly into the hands of Russia and unfortunately serves their interests.
House Democrats emerged from a White House briefing on intelligence, renewing their call for an all-member briefing.
All right. Welcome YouTubers, welcome Facebookers. And I'm gonna now take the sound. So today, hopefully you guys are going to be able to, for those of you who are on our streaming services, I'm going to suggest today, different than any other day, that you also tune in. Go to automaticlandlord.com. Go to automaticlandlord.com and click on the stream live, because you may not get good sound since our special guest is calling in from a remote location and is unable, and there are other reasons, to be on the screen. And some very sensitive information you're going to hear today. Some super interesting information you're going to hear today. So like I said, go to automaticlandlord.com and listen simultaneously there. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and take the earpiece out, because then that'll trigger the microphone there. So Eliana is on the screen.
Nah, it's illegal here, man. But I have PTSD. Should I at least try to get medical marijuana? That's legal. But if I were you, I'd talk to my doctor about qualifying conditions and find out if medical marijuana is even right for you. Thanks. I'll talk to my doctor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Can't believe it's almost the 4th of July. 4th of July is coming up, and all the beaches in Florida are closed. Can you believe that? And I still don't have the final word as to whether they're going to be shooting fireworks or not. I saw a big billboard on the way to the beach today that said beaches closed July 3rd through July 5th. Notice, obviously, on July 4th to help prevent the COVID, and all events canceled. I'm hoping that that doesn't mean fireworks. So as you can see,
To the Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group LLC. Eric Roman, president of Capital One Group LLC, is a highly trained financial professional. He helps clients to develop strategies.
Here we go. I'm ready.
And related financial products to achieve a more secure financial future. For the real estate investor or the home buyer, he's able to provide expertise in matching the right properties and financing with your specific financial objectives. This show is dedicated to helping you find the safe and simple approach to buying income-producing real estate. If you have any questions about the program or to arrange a consultation, call toll-free 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. Now, today's edition of The Real Estate Show.
And welcome. Hello, South Florida. Welcome to another live edition of The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show, all about, well, you guessed it, the topic here is real estate. And we are here live Monday through Friday from 8 until 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That's each and every single weekday evening. We're here talking about real estate from all points of view and all angles. And we've got a great show to you. As I promised, I have a very special mystery guest for tonight's radio program. I've got a topic here that is at the edge of everyone's thought process right now when it comes to real estate. And so this is going to be a very interesting, and I will tell you, a very illuminating, and I'll also tell you perhaps even a very controversial radio show. Now, I will tell you that I have gone far and wide talking to experts in the real estate business, not only during this pandemic, but going back further, talking about real estate to lawyers, foreclosure attorneys, title attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys. I mean, I will tell you, I've spoken to everybody and anybody who professed to be an expert in the field of real estate, particularly in challenging times where foreclosures are an issue. And we're here, I think, on the precipice of a market right now that could go, it could go any way, any day now. And that's kind of what makes this market very interesting. But there's a lot that goes back into sort of the background of what's going on in the real estate market. And I'll tell you, when it comes to that, there may be many, many experts out there, but there are only a few people who have really studied the inner workings of the mortgage business and sort of the back office dealings that happen in the finance world that affect real estate. So I've been talking to this gentleman that I'm going to introduce to you in just a second. And he is somebody who's been around the block a few times, who has been with his ears on the rails, if you will, when it comes to the foreclosure business and the real estate business and the banking business and the securities market, which all of them seem to come to a head. Well, it was only a matter of time before I could convince this gentleman to come here and be a guest here on the radio show. And some of the things that he's going to talk about might be so controversial that he came on the show with the condition that we would not reveal his name nor his location, to give you an idea how serious this is. So normally I would have a background, a bio, and all sorts of introduction, and we'll try to pull a little bit of it out as we go along. That'll give you an idea where the depth of his knowledge comes from. But without further ado, I want to first do a quick sound check. Is Foreclosure Man on the line?
If you can hear me, I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. I can hear you. And first of all, welcome to the program. Again, I want to express that I appreciate you being here with us. And we're going to talk a lot about the market, the history, and everything like that as it comes up. But first of all, just what is it that you call what you do?
Well, when I started this back in literally, I guess it was the end of '07, we dubbed it foreclosure management. So that's the best title I can give you. Before we go any further, let me also thank you, Mr. Wellner, for allowing me the opportunity to be here. And I won't apologize. I almost want to for being anonymous at this particular moment. No doubt that will go away as time goes forward. But to do this anonymously is a little bit on the edge for me, but I am going to do it there for the time being. But again, thank you very much for the opportunity.
No, appreciate it. For our audience sake, this gentleman doesn't go around speaking about this. He doesn't have a public agenda, not a politician. And so where did you come up with this idea of, that foreclosure needed to be managed?
That's a very good question. It's a little bit more complicated than it probably should be, but I should give you some more background to my life.
Okay.
I am an old, as I say to people, I'm an old bird. I'm going to be 80 on my next birthday. I was a contractor on the World Trade Center back in the 1960s forward, and I retired in 1996. And coming down to Florida, I was looking for things to occupy my time. I had essentially blown my business up, so I didn't come down here with the proceeds of what would ordinarily be a $22 million business. I came down here looking for work, which is humbling, but it's the way it was. And I became interested in our monetary system. How can I describe this? I used to accuse my parents and people around them of getting into trivial and horrible things that just wasted time. And I think I fell in that same category, except I began looking at our tax system and our Federal Reserve. Shortly after doing that, I realized the Federal Reserve was a privately owned company and was not provided for as such in the United States Constitution. It's an empowering document. Nowhere in that document did the founders give the Congress the authority to form or charter a private bank, much less charter a privately owned central bank. And that's what our Federal Reserve is. It's a privately owned central bank. And I became very amazed at that. My family were cops going back into the 1920s, and as I joke with people, if you're Irish and you've ever been in a bar, you're automatically a detective. Well, I never became a cop, but I became very curious about the issue and began to research it. And I'd like to give you the year, I can't remember back, but it was 16, 17 years ago. And after about 3 weeks of research, I immediately began saying the sky was falling. We were going to have an epidemic of foreclosures and bank failures. Everybody laughed at me. I went into mortgage origination. I did that for a while, and then it happened. In 2007, everything collapsed. And I began looking into the background of the subprime mortgage-backed security. I knew more about them than attorneys. And within a few weeks, I decided to I was no longer doing mortgages. I began teaching attorneys how to defend foreclosures. Now, you got to understand, I'm an Irishman with probably more chutzpah than common sense in some respects, but I knew more about the notes that went into these, let's say, certificates than a room full of Harvard MBAs. They could all have been attorneys. I got an awful lot of information about, and I knew that they seemed that I knew, I have to be careful with my language, they appeared to have been shaped and formed just to fail. But I won't go there. That gets into a far deep subject. But I had enough information to feel comfortable to say to attorneys, I'm bringing you a client, and I want you to handle a client this way. I cannot direct her activities in the court because that's against the bar rules, but I would bring things to the attention of an attorney that would take that attorney and say, you know, this is not a bad argument because everything in a court is an argument. Before I knew it, I had 10, I had 30, I had 70, I had almost 100 clients that had hired me to go find their attorney. I already had a list of attorneys I was willing to work with. And we were prosecuting, or if you will, defending foreclosure cases in just 2 counties in the state of Florida. I'll leave those counties out. That will give you a little bit of an idea of my location. Although we are moving, not moving, but opening an operation up for Boca as I speak. So I became interested in our monetary system after being retired, after retiring. And I actually predicted the foreclosure crisis. People laughed at me for a year or two until it happened. And then when it did happen, and I no longer had work doing mortgages, I took case on after case after case after case. And every one of my clients had an attorney. And I have come over these years, these 18 years, 12, 13 years, respect the legal profession and the court far more than a layperson ordinarily does. Some of the attorneys I vetted were absolute thieves. They were liars. For the most part, the attorneys I have chosen to work with over these years are excellent, honest, not cut and paste, shortcut fellows, but good, honest people. And that's what I bring to the table. That's what Foreclosure Man brings to the table. If you come to us, interview with us, qualified, I will pay to the attorney to defend you in court. And you'll have a licensed attorney, fully licensed, but more importantly, fully qualified. So that's how it came to be. And I can go on and ramble, and I don't want to do that. I'll let you pick up the pace where you're at right now, Mr. Wilner.
Well, you know, first of all, I hope our listeners understand a little bit better where the concept of foreclosure management comes in. And what I have seen, and this is why, you know, Foreclosure Man and I have had lengthy conversations and debated the subject. And there are not a lot of people out there, attorneys included, that understand all of the ramifications of foreclosures. If you recall, back in 2006 and 7, when the foreclosure wave, you know, the so-called bubble burst back then all of a sudden prior to that, there were only a small handful of attorneys who were well versed in foreclosures. The majority of the people.
Let me interrupt.
Yeah.
I apologize for interrupting, but I have to interrupt. At the time that this exploded in 2006 and 7, and I appreciate you giving me a great lead-in, not one damned attorney in the state of Florida, much less the other 49 states, understood what the hell they were up against.
Right.
I didn't even understand fully what I was up against. They had no idea how to defend against the foreclosure.
Well, there were a very small handful of attorneys who really got what was going on. The rest were bankruptcy attorneys who immediately jumped on the bandwagon. They were title attorneys who were used to handling very simple clerical title work that jumped on the bandwagon. They were more administrative than they were litigious, or they thought in terms of, as you said, arguing.
Yeah, I have just taken on a case over in Delray Beach, and he caught us after he had hired an attorney to put a pleading in for him, and didn't even know it, but the court had already ruled. The plaintiff had come to the case and successfully foreclosed, and we have now taken this case on to vacate the foreclosure judgment. But he had gone to an attorney, as most people will, not knowing that you have to vet the attorney, and most people, like 99%, don't know how to vet the attorney, speciality that you're going after the attorney. He could put divorce or he could put bankruptcy on his door. But foreclosure was never one of those things that would be on an attorney's door. So if you went to any attorney at that point in time, when everybody was looking for help, the attorney would sit there and say, oh, yes, I can take care of that. And he'd take $1,200, he'd take $900, $1,800 from you, and he wouldn't know the first damn thing about what he was doing. And all of a sudden, you're on a path to no place. You're working with a guy who's doing cut-and-paste from one case to another. He's actually putting the wrong names into his pleadings. And we've seen that a dozen, probably 60, 70 times.
I've seen it too. Richard, let me just interrupt you just a quick second, because we're up past the middle of the show, and we have to take a quick break, hear a few words from our sponsors. And so what I want to do is go ahead and take that break, and then we'll resume right after these words. So you're listening to the Real Estate Show with a very special guest, Mr. Foreclosure Man, a name being withheld and location being withheld for the time being. And we're talking about something that could be a very interesting twist in the road up ahead. So don't touch that dial. We got a lot more for you. We'll be right back right after these words.
Today's real estate market is full of questions. Eric Bullner and Capital One Group LLC have the answers. Call today for a no-obligation consultation.
Eric, yes, sir.
You want all three spots?
Foreclosure Man spot. What are the ones that we have?
Simple approach to buying income-producing real estate. And you'll find out
it's running Capital One now. You got
specific investment objectives. Plus, you'll have immediate access to cutting-edge mortgage
the accounting software and
hold the accounting software. Just do just Facebook, and then we'll come back. And did you get my email today for the Foreclosure Man?
Your host of the Real Estate Show. As you know, we now have a Facebook page.
I'm sorry, say again.
The one for Foreclosure Man. Can you run that one?
Videos.
No, I did not get that.
I sent it to you by email.
On a regular basis on the Facebook page.
That was a woman.
To make it really exciting.
It was like
We want
2.5, 3 minutes long.
No, it's a man.
And that will help us make both the Real
Yeah,
Estate
we're
Show
not on the same
and our
page.
Facebook
I sent an email today to R.A. Kuttner.
Check us out at Facebook.
Yeah, I
/the
I
Real
keep it all straight.
Estate Show.
No, I
Give us a thumbs up. Hey,
You know,
listeners,
you didn't
this is
tell me you
the
wanted to make that
Investing
into a
Guru,
card.
And they'll tell you.
So I know it's on my
virtual
cell phone. I
assistants
can't do that.
handle all your back office
Okay.
and administrative tasks associated with buying and selling real estate. Bress is that team. They handle everything for you, so you can focus on turning hot leads into hot deals. Bress Business and Real Estate Solutions and Services is a staff of highly trained and knowledgeable virtual assistants ready to help you.
Awesome, man.
There is a better virtual assistant solution out there for real estate investors anywhere. Go to BressVA, that's BRESSVA.com to see what Bress can do for you.
Not him, Wiley. Good guess, but not him.
LLC, Boca Raton, with your host, Eric Woolman. If you have any questions about the broadcast, call toll free, 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. Now, back to today's show.
And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show. And we are here today with a very special and albeit anonymous guest here, Foreclosure Man, a gentleman who I will tell you is a very knowledgeable, experienced, many years of experience in all sorts of aspects related to our conversation today. And so we've been talking about a very interesting concept. And the reason why I want to introduce this concept, because we're in a market right now which seems to be chugging along at a very good pace. But with a lot of economics right now that could go either way, north or south, it is very important. And while there are some people out there on the sidelines screaming that the sky is falling and others screaming that there's no chance of the sky falling, there's no doubt in my mind with the unprecedented unemployment figures that we have, the large number of people in forbearance, there is a lot of what I would call artificial supports in the market right now. And even if the market, which has been remarkably strong, continues on its strength, it will leave a fair number, and there will be a spike in foreclosures. I don't know how huge it will be. I will tell you two things. I don't know how big it will be or how small it will be. I can also tell you, though, it will not be exactly like 2007 and 2008. So if you think it's going to be that all over again, the only thing I can tell you is that it won't be. And so that's why I wanted to have this guest, Mr. Foreclosure Man, on the show here, because I wanted to pick his brains and explain to you, because there are two concepts that we already talked about on the show. Number one is the concept of foreclosure management. Remember, this show is taped, it is recorded, and it will be available for replay on our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com, and also on therealestateshow.net. But Foreclosure Man, we were talking about, before the break, this whole concept about many attorneys, they flocked in from other areas to jump in on the bandwagon of a huge need that there was. And a lot of them learned by copycatting. A lot of them didn't even learn, to be quite honest.
Fair statement.
Yes, I know.
The best analogy that I give people, and I know we're running out of time in a few moments. The best analogy I give people is if you have a heart problem, you don't go to a podiatrist. And most folks have no idea how to find an attorney. Any attorney can hang on a shingle foreclosures, and he's never done one in his life. He's done 10, and he still knows nothing. In the foreclosure business, if we call it that, we could have an attorney that's done 50 to 100 foreclosures. He knows something. He still doesn't know the business. So it's extremely difficult for the average person who served the list pendants, the papers, and go find an attorney. Now, many people make the decision, I'm guilty, I've signed a note, leave it alone, and they don't hire an attorney. Well, let me tell you something. Every bloody case that's brought in as a foreclosure, and I have to bite the tongue a bit, damn near every bloody case has got problems in the complaint. And unless you have a knowledgeable attorney reviewing that case and attacking it, you're going to be out of your home in 5 or 6 months. Get yourself an attorney, any attorney, you'll add another 2 or 3 months. Now, we're not in this business, and I call it a business, just to keep you in your home where you'll eventually lose your house or the court will rule in favor of the bank because they have a good case. Our goal is to make sure that the case that's brought against you is valid. I'm going to tell you an enormous percentage, and I don't want to put a number on it, but a huge percent of cases are brought by banks. who don't have the wherewithal to justify their case. In the fall of 2011, I had enough cases in court and saw the shift. Tell you without a doubt, the courts changed the rule. They knew that they couldn't determine who owned these notes. They made a decision. They weren't going to give the houses away. So what they did is decide, we're still going to rule in favor of the bank. Our attorneys, our efforts are geared in such a way to never make some things impossible for a judge. Never. But we make it very difficult for a judge to rule in favor of a bank that has flawed paperwork. And when we do what we do on behalf of our clients, hire us, we pay the attorney for you, by the way. That's element, big distinction.
Yeah, that's strong, and that really shows your conviction about having, because you wouldn't pay the attorney if you didn't have a strong conviction that that there is problems with the case. And it's, you know, I sometimes look at this fight as similar to when you get a traffic ticket. Sometimes you may be dead guilty, you were over the speed limit, and they saw you, they caught you, and yet if the officer doesn't do things in the proper way, if his paperwork isn't up to date, his certifications aren't up to date, perhaps even didn't write the ticket properly. That's why there are attorneys that specialize in that area, and you go to a specific attorney for that. Well, there is a narrow, and so the first concept, which I really like, is this concept of foreclosure management, because it really has to be managed. The second thing, which was big.
It's a very large effort.
Yes, and the other thing that I think that people underestimate, first of all, you don't show up to a gunfight with a knife, right? And in the courts,
good analogy.
Yeah, or no weapon at all, because the banks have weapons, the banks have their, you know, selected specialized attorneys, and for you to show, first of all, not to show up is a shame. And I have watched many a hearing in court where there was only the attorney and no one else shows up, and of course the judge has no reason to do anything but grant by default in favor of the bank. However, when there's two attorneys facing off there, then you start at a 50-50 chance, and if the attorney is worth anything in his weight in salt, then you have a fighting chance to make sure that at least you have your fair day in court.
It's all based upon asking the right questions. And I won't tell you 98, 99% of the attorneys in the business of being an attorney don't know the right questions in a foreclosure case. I'll just tell you the huge percentage of attorneys that are in business as attorneys haven't got a clue where to go and how to ask the right question. So we ensure that the attorney defending your case has the right questions and knowledge to ask those questions.
So let me ask you, someone who has this problem right now and wanted to consult with you, are you available to be consulted with at this point?
Yes, on the East Coast, we meet on Thursdays and Fridays in Boca Raton. On the West Coast in Sarasota, we meet on Mondays and Tuesdays. And we meet face to face. I'm not anonymous. I am who I am. And we do get down to business. And we do pick up the legal fees. We do a lot more than that, where our defense programs are incredible. We have a program that it makes both of us winners, especially people who are desperate.
In the few seconds that we have left, Foreclosure Man, please give out your phone number.
I can. I have to think about it a little bit. It's 561-548-4410. 561-548-4410.
Thank you.
And we meet in Boca, or we meet in Sarasota, depending upon where you're located, east or west coast.
And if you guys didn't get that and you want to find out more, you can always contact me on our website at automaticlandlord.com. You can always contact us on our 800 number, toll free, to find out more at 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. I promise you, you speak with Foreclosure Man, you will learn something that I promise you, you didn't know. That's how deep the knowledge goes. Anyway.
And our website is asktheforeclosureman.com. Asktheforeclosureman.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Foreclosure Man, for coming on the air and being willing to talk. I know you've never talked in public before. We're going to definitely have to have you back because I know that I'm seeing some questions come up on my Facebook Live page. So unfortunately, we are out of time, so I'm going to have to say goodbye. Thank you again. Thanks to all of our listeners who came and support our program. And we'll be back same place, same time tomorrow. The Foreclosure Man, I'm going to get him back here again next Tuesday. Goodbye.
Thank you. The Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group LLC in Boca Raton. Eric Wilms and Capital One Group LLC are available to assist you with your financial needs. If you have any questions about today's program or to arrange a consultation, call toll free at 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. And join us every day at the same time right here on South Florida's Money Talk Radio. The opinions expressed on this sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of the station and staff.
So I'm gonna just hit a couple of the high points, but I recommend you give Foreclosure Man a call. It is let me see if I have this number still somewhere here, and otherwise I'll put it up on my notes when I put those up later on today. I don't have them here. And I don't have them. Guess what? I do have it. So I'll give those of you who are interested in giving Foreclosure Man a call directly, 561-758-4110. That's 561-758-4110. And you'll get a lot of information. I tell you, I have learned a lot talking to him. And this stuff that we're getting ready. So Wiley was asking me, so how do I prepare myself for the coming spike in foreclosures? And it's coming. It's not a matter of if, it's more a question of when. And then, of course, the question is at what magnitude. And the longer that they keep holding this off, then what I think it will even more clearly identify those people who are weak at the time, because they'll be behind. They'll be adding these missed payments to the balance, which may already equal to zero equity in their properties. So the answer to your question, it's gonna be, number one, get informed so you understand how the foreclosure process works. Number one. Number two is figure out in your area how you can get information on, the NODs are called the notice of default. That is the first notice that goes out before the bank files a foreclosure. Typically what happens is that when you become late, the bank starts calling you, and either they or the servicer is calling you and harassing you. When you hit 60 days, a notice of default goes out, which is a written notice of default that you're late. And because those go on record with the banks, they sell those lists, and you can buy those lists from some list services. On the 90th day, the way that the notes are written, then they file what's called a lis pendens, which is a notice, which is basically a lawsuit that the bank is filing against you in order to collect their collateral, because now they're 90 days behind. And that list, of course, becomes public record as well as that list is sold. So I got to run. I got to take this phone call actually from Foreclosure Man. So I'm going to wrap it up right here. You can always reach me in the office, 561-395-5599, or at toll-free number 888-595-395-5599. Thanks and goodbye.